COYB, the podcast by and for the owners of the Caledonian Braves. Join us each episode as we dive into the stories, passion, and people behind Scotland's most forward-thinking football club. We'll talk with owners, fans, players, and staff about what it really means to be brave. So grab your merch, settle in, and let's get started.
Welcome to COYB, the podcast, where owners become storytellers and the global football community meets and talks all things Caledonian Braves. I'm Hunter Ekval, your host and one of over 8,500 fellow Braves owners worldwide, bringing you behind the scenes with the people shaping the future of football, because together we got power. And with me is the voice of the Braves broadcasts, the one and only Keith Mack. How are you, sir?
Excellent. How's yourself?
I'm good. How's your off season been?
Been very busy. Work is work, isn't it? Everybody has to go through it. It's been a very busy period for me. Fortunately, been on a bit of leave for the last week and a bit, which is tied in with a bit of pre-season in terms of the friendlies and the like. So able to catch some football. Actually managed to be able to get along to a training session or two as well with the boys. So it's been really nice seeing them out with that game environment as well, seeing how they interact and stuff. So it's been really good. How about yourself? How are you getting on? How are you handling no Braves football?
It's been rough. It's been really rough. I have this routine of Saturday morning. I wake up, I make myself a coffee and a small breakfast, and then I sit in front of the computer screen. And I this off season I've been prowling the Discord like a hawk, just looking for stuff to talk about. It consumes my life, but that's good. And I've been working too. So thank you for being my first guest. I'm very excited about this conversation.
Absolutely no problem at all. And is that a cheeky little Braves t-shirt that
It is.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Not just any, but look at that. The owner t-shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, be careful. You don't want to be showing too many people that.
No kidding.
Get a lot of people around your house at this point in time.
Let's get into this. Before we talk about the Braves, let's talk about you a little bit. How did you first hear about the Caledonian Braves?
Yeah, no worries. So obviously I'm based in Scotland. I'm in Fife, which is towards the east coast of the country, and obviously the Braves and a lot of the sort of local communities are more on the west coast towards Glasgow and the surrounding areas. So I'm in Dunfermline, the new city of Dunfermline, might I add. We got made a city just the other few months back. How did I first get involved with the Braves? So I was, as most people do, just kind of loafing around looking at the internet on my phone at one point, and I started looking into clubs with fan ownership because general interest, quite a lot of interest in football. And there's general interest in fan ownership and the different models of the clubs and who does what and how are things working. So I was busy looking around and the usual sort of stuff. So the clubs over in Germany, there's a few down in England. I know some people are involved with Falkirk here in Scotland that do it, Hearts do it. And then all of a sudden this little random thing popped up about the Caledonian Braves, which I had never heard of before in my life. And it was directing me to this kind of WeFunder campaign of this Scottish club who are looking to kind of get just owners around the world. And WeFunder again. So for you guys, WeFunder is probably quite a well-known thing, but for me, I'd never heard of it before. So fortunately, I know somebody who lives out in the States. So I was asking them, what's WeFunder? What is this all about? So they kind of started to reassure me that the site itself was legitimate and all these things, because instant reaction, anything on the internet, that's a scam, right? Absolutely a scam. I'm not getting involved. So having a conversation with them and decided, this is actually quite interesting. So started looking more into the Braves and actually went along just to kind of see if this was a legit thing. So went along to a game, took my daughter. I had a lovely time. We lost, because that's what was happening at the time, and that's in that year when I suddenly kind of became aware of the Braves. It was quite a hit and miss season. So went along there, saw the game, talked to a couple of people. One of the gents that was working the gate at the time, Blair, was absolutely fantastic. He was the nicest guy you can meet. He was fantastic with my daughter in terms of chatting to her when we were going in and all that sort of stuff. came away from the game thinking, do you know what? This is actually a nice thing. I really like football. Maybe wasn't the best game in the world. That aside, I really liked the atmosphere. I really liked the kind of kids going on at halftime and having a bit of a kick around and all these sort of things. And you can see the players' families and all that sort of stuff that was there. I thought it's just a nice environment, and the people were so nice that I decided, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go for it. That's me. I'm sold. So unlike you guys, perhaps, I had the luxury of actually going along and seeing what I was getting into before pulling the trigger, so to speak. So yeah, it was my kind of introduction into the Braves, and I just started going to the games more often, try to catch them either on YouTube or that when they were available, when I wasn't able to get to them, and yeah, just kind of built from there.
I had never heard of WeFunder until the Braves stuff. And I had to look it up and be like, is this a scam? You know, is it one of those things where you buy a plot of land in Scotland and you can be called a laird or a lady or something like that? And the more I looked into it, it was like you said, it was like, no, this is a legit thing. But it's cool that you have that very personal experience that you got to like take it on a test drive a little bit. Was that 2023? Was that when they finished 12th or 13th?
Yeah, it would have been. So it would have been quite early on the 23-24 season. Yeah, it absolutely would have been. Yeah, but no, you're right. So when I first went on to WeFunder, and hopefully Chris and stuff don't mind I'm saying this, there was very little information on there, right? Mm-hmm. It was limited, to say the least, and it gradually built as the thing went on, and more information. In fact, I think my face even appears on there nowadays, or when it was running. But when I first went on, it was very limited. So yeah, having that ability to actually go physically and see the game, see the lads playing, see the fact there is a crowd there, see what Alliance Park was like, and I'm sure it was maybe more so for you guys when you come over from the States. You actually get a feeling of the scale of the club, right? Because you think football, everybody instantly thinks Premier League in England, right? Huge, big stadiums, all this sort of stuff. It's really not. There's not many of them in Scotland, full stop. Never mind at a kind of lowland league level. So I really like that because basically it's like a kind of sports centre with a big AstroTurf pitch, and that appeals to me, and the level and the kind of personal nature of it just really appealed to me. So it was great, and I don't know if I would have been brave enough like you guys had I not had the ability to go and see it in person. I don't know whether I would have pulled the trigger. You guys have obviously taken a huge leap of faith to do that, and MD, who's done it without physically going there, gets a tip of the cap from me. It's a huge thing to do.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I got involved because I was getting a gift. I bought a share for my nephew, and then got involved in the Discord, and that's where I met you, because you would always, before every game, you would give a little history lesson about where the team, the area of Scotland that the game was being played at, or where the team was from. And I was like, this guy's great. I love it. And then all of a sudden you started appearing on the broadcasts. Tell me about that. How did it go from you being an owner and coming to games to then being the voice of the broadcasts?
The voice, yeah. So how did that come about? Well, firstly, thank you in terms of the little bits about the area and stuff like that. It's just to try and put a wee bit of context behind it, right? Because, I mean, we're thousands of miles away. And everybody has an opinion of this kind of idea of what Scotland's like, and we have it from the States and, all these sort of things. So the idea is just to give people a little bit of an understanding of the kind of history and the like. And I don't know what you managed to catch the first half against Largs, didn't you? So I was able to kind of say a little bit about Largs and, the history of the fact that back in the 1200s, it was actually considered part of Norway because it was governed by Norway, all these sort of things that I take for granted. Absolutely take for granted. I live here, right? It's one of the easiest things to do is ignore the country you live in. So it's just me trying to give a little bit of context to that wider kind of part of Scotland, as well as just the focus on football. So yeah, I'm glad if people enjoy it. If not, then that's okay. I don't mind being told to just focus on the football, man, which is absolutely fine. But how did I go from just sort of turning up? Right. So as I say, I kind of started going along to a few games, just sitting in a stand, watching, walking around, all these sort of things, and I just started chatting more and more to some of the people that were involved in volunteering and the likes. And as I say, with the likes of Blair, I met Stephen, the club secretary, David Fleming, who's the unofficial Braves historian, John Yates, all these sort of guys, just through going to games. And I think the Southern Counties Cup finals really when I spent most of the game with that group. They'd all travelled down to Annan. And so just having a few conversations with there, like, there's an opportunity to do some volunteering if you're interested. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, more than happy to help out wherever I can. So just started doing a few bits of volunteering, working on the gate, selling teas and coffees, doing a little bit of service and hospitality and all these sort of things, just wherever a pair of hands were needed. And that kind of brought me into the fold, if you will. In terms of moving into the commentary and the broadcast stuff, so that was never something that I'd set out to do. That wasn't my aim when I first went along. I just be involved. I'm quite happy just to help out. But when Callum moved on, we were short of somebody to do some of the commentary stuff. So Chris was looking for people who felt comfortable in talking about football for 90 minutes, who felt fairly confident that they could manage not to swear whilst they were watching it, which is, you ever spoke to a Scottish person, that's sometimes quite difficult. But I've had to do a lot of talking and a lot of speaking for work for many years, and this idea of just trying to switch into that more professional kind of side of life where you don't swear was something I thought, you know what, I can probably manage it internally. Like, it's nonstop when I'm watching, right? I just don't vocalize it to you guys because you don't need to hear my foul mouth about what's happening. So yeah, I thought, well, I'll give it a try for a game. So I said to Chris, look, I'll give it a go. I can't tell you it's going to be any good, and I can't promise you people will like it, but I'll give it a go. So that was, now I looked back, that would have been in December of last year. So I think it was a cow and beef game at Alliance Park. And I did a kind of co-coms at the time, just doing, I suppose, what would be the kind of colour commentary, right? So just looking at the kind of tactical stuff and any particular patterns of play and all these sort of things. So I did that, and it seemed to go okay. And then I was going to the Trinent game the following week, which was out at Trinent, and there was just kind of like an ask, so, look, is there any chance you fancy doing an X Spaces commentary? Because, you're one of a few people that are going to be there. If you fancy doing it, Adam will sort you out with all the stuff that you need. And I thought, well, nobody's absolutely slaughtered me, so yeah, okay, I'll give it a go. By slaughtered, I mean, I suppose I should use a better term than that. Nobody's absolutely wrecked me in terms of negative feedback or anything like that. So I thought, yeah, I'll give it another go, and it's just built from there. People seem to enjoy it. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that every time I do it, I'm getting slightly better at doing it. It's a weird. It was really strange for the first 5-6 games of this idea of talking to nobody throughout a whole game of football, because you're just standing there and trying not to talk too much, but talk enough to help people understand what's going on. And yeah, it was quite a surreal experience to begin with. But it's been something I never thought I would do, but has been a really enjoyable thing to do, just by kind of putting yourself out there and maybe trying to something a little bit new and something a little bit different.
Have you ever had any broadcast experience before?
No.
Okay. See, and that's the thing that I'm kind of incredulous at, because you hit the ground running, and I was like, because I had known who you were on the Discord, and then you pop up on the broadcast, and I was, oh, that's the same Keith. Yeah. So we know who this person is. This is an owner. This is someone who's one of us, it felt to me like you were an old hat and you just fit into the slot and went right in.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm the president of the Keith Mac fan club. And so I will always have your back. I won't ever let anyone slaughter you at all, because I think you're doing a wonderful job.
No, thank you. No, absolutely no experience. So as my late grandfather used to say quite a lot, master of all trades, expert of none. No, absolutely no experience in any of it, aside from the fact that I've been brought up with football, watched a lot of football, played football, all these sort of things, and have a general attitude of, I've seen somebody else do it. Yeah, but I could probably do that. I'll give it a go. Why not? So yeah, that's where it comes from. It's no experience, I'm afraid.
Okay. One of the things that I've noticed during the broadcast is that you are very knowledgeable about football and the history of football. You just said you've been watching football your whole life. You consider yourself a fan. Are there any other clubs that you follow besides the Braves?
Not now. In my younger days, So right in Scotland, football is like a generational thing, right? And quite often football teams are handed down through generations. You just are what you are. And I think there was a conversation on Discord quite recently about this understanding of you have one team and that's you. You're done. Don't even mention anybody else. So in my childhood, I was a Rangers fan. That was that's just the way it was. So absolutely, for a good few years, kind of fell out of love with football in general, and stopped supporting or stopped getting particularly excited about one team in particular for a while, when part of the way through being a teenager. So now I'm just a football fan in general. I don't support any other team apart from the Braves, obviously. But I will watch any team play football. Absolutely drives my wife insane. I will watch any football, any level of football. The only team other than the Braves that will get me worked up is the Scottish national team. And my emotions for that, as many Scots, is anger and frustration. But yeah, I don't have a particular team anymore apart from the Braves. I've got a few teams that I got a soft spot for historically, because I've enjoyed the way that they play football. So I'll always kind of have a look out for like AC Milan results, Newcastle results, Everton, these sort of things, just because historically I've emotions that or memories that kind of tie up with that from being a kid. So Italian football, when I was young, was on a Sunday morning here in Scotland on across the UK on Channel 4. So you used to wake up and you'd roll over, if you had lucky enough to have a TV in your bed back in the very early 90s. You put the TV on and you could lie there and just watch a game of Italian football. And so, I've always had an interest in that, and similarly with the likes of Newcastle and Everton. So Newcastle under Keegan, just that whole excitement and all that came with it, and Everton have had quite a lot of strong Scottish link, and so just affinities more than anything else now.
So you're not going to be like a hooligan running the streets or anything like that?
At 45, no. I don't think my knees could run the streets anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's funny when you said generational. I don't know if it's professional American football is like that, but college American football.
Yeah.
Like the college I went to, I was like the fourth generation that went to that college and that was a fan of that football team. And so I completely understand that. Like, I didn't have a choice.
Subtle persuasion.
Okay. So what is the weirdest or coolest reaction that you've gotten when you tell people you own, and in your instance, broadcast for a football club?
So the weirdest or coolest. I think the standard response that I've had is usually one of a mocking kind of thing, because most of the people that kind of know that with me is here in Scotland, and we don't really oversell other people's things. So quite a lot of it is just I big shot and who do you think you are, and all these sort of things. But it's people have been interested. I've kind of taken some people to games and stuff, and they've had a chance to come along and watch and all those sort of things. So a lot of interest. A lot of people don't, even in Scotland, don't really know too much about the Lowland League. They've got their teams, and out with their teams, they don't really care what's going on. So that's been quite interesting. There's been quite a bit of surprise. I've actually bumped into quite a few people that I've known that have had this makes me feel old, that have had their sons playing against us. I'm like, why are you here? I'm like, oh, why are you here? And then you suddenly find out that people that are in the opposite team, and their parents and stuff like that. So it's always quite interesting in terms of the broadcasting side of life. No, in my big mouth, nobody's massively surprised. What they are surprised about is that it isn't terrible and that people seem to like it. So yeah, it's maybe not met with the same kind of enthusiasm that is in the States, just because we're Scottish and we didn't really get excited for other people's.
Okay. Do you tell people you're like, I even have a fan club?
No, I didn't. No, I do not tell people that because one, nobody would believe me, and two, and two, I think that would, I don't know if I've got enough brass neck for that.
Right.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Brass neck is, for those who are maybe listening to this that don't know, brass neck is enough self-confidence and arrogance and ignorance to kind of to pull that stuff off. I've certainly been told I have plenty of arrogance and confidence, but maybe not enough to pull that one off yet.
So that kind of, you talking about how people feel about you being an owner. This is that discussion that's going on Discord right now, is what's the local feeling about the Braves, like the local Scottish feelings? I know that you've mentioned before that we're called the American team, and that we've had some comments from other teams while they're playing, other teams' fans while they're playing us. But what's the feeling about the Braves?
So what's the feeling about the Braves? I suppose the feeling about the Braves is the feeling about anything that's new and different, right? So as people, no one likes things that's new and different as right. So it could be any walk of life, not even necessarily just football, but football is one of the ones that I think is a fantastic example of it, because as fans and whatnot, we're always complaining about the way our clubs are run, the fact that we're not involved enough, all these sort of things. And then somebody comes along, tries to do it a little bit differently, and then suddenly it's like, that's a terrible idea. When that's basically what you've been calling for the past 30 years of your life, or whatever it might be. So for us, the fact that there is something a little bit different with the Braves, and we are in the mix with some teams that have been around for a very long time in the Lowland League. So there's a lot of that sort of deep set tradition. And with that, the frustrations from the fans in terms of the fact of where they're at now compared to where they maybe were historically and all these sort of things. And they see the Braves coming along and having a relatively decent bit of success, hopefully more success in the future. And it gets the hackles going, and it gets the kind of, it's a joke club, it's this, it's that, and it's something that I think everybody expects, just because it's football and it's very kind of tribal, and if you're not with us, you're against us, and all these sort of things. And as I say, anything new coming along, particularly in football, is always gives people that kind of target to aim at and to try and ridicule. So I think it's certainly sits in that space. The American thing, absolutely. We heard that a few times. It's maybe not so much now. Certainly towards the end of last season. Again, because we did so well in the league. Some of the non kind of historic clubs are like, oh, okay. So, for example, when we're at Largs there, just at the end of preseason. After the game, I was talking to a couple of people involved with Largs, and they were really complimentary about the Braves, and they really liked this idea of having this global ownership and eyes on Scottish football and all these sort of things. Whether we would get that at some of the other clubs in the Lowland League, perhaps not, but it is what it is. And the more success that we have, the more people will probably be upset or not like it. And that's a good thing for us because it means we're being successful, but it does mean that there's that element of you've got a target on your back because you're doing something a little bit different.
Yeah, and I know that's the conversation I'm probably one of the people that is driving it on Discord because I think it's important is how do we get more local support for the Braves? And I know that Chris has talked about the pitch being almost impossible to get to with public transportation and people. And like you said, people are tribal. They have their clubs. They're generational. They're not going to root for somebody else. My brain's constantly like, okay, how can we get more people interested in this club in Glasgow, in Scotland?
Yeah. So I suppose that is a bit of a tricky one, right? Because predominantly people Rangers, Celtics fans, and then you've got the other clubs that are kind of in between those. I think from a Braves point of view, because there's not a huge amount of history, you've not had that chance to build up that kind of, well, you're my local team, and if I can't either afford to go and see my first team or that first team isn't playing or that, then it'll come down. So if you look at clubs in the Lowland League, the likes of, let's say Trinent and Linlithgow, okay, they've never been in league football, but they've got this really good history in junior football, which was around before the kind of Lowland League and stuff. So they've got this historical period where they've built up that local connection and that local fan group. So if you were to ask Linlithgow Rose fans or Trinent fans, they'll probably tell you who their main team is, but they still go to Linlithgow, they still go to Trinent because they've been in the community for so long. It gives them that kind of anchor position. So how do we build that? It's quite tricky because who knows where a permanent home might be to start with. And where we're at within the kind of central belt in terms of that kind of Glasgow, Motherwell, Strathclyde, Hamilton, all the that sort of area there's quite a saturation of clubs. So there's a lot of teams there, whereas the likes of Linlithgow, apart from Falkirk and then into Edinburgh, Linlithgow have got their own little kind of niche so people who don't want to support Hearts or Hibs are going to Edinburgh or travel to Falkirk and all that sort of things. Similarly with Trinent as well, it's far enough away from another kind of professional club, if you will, or league club, that it can capture these people on a regular basis. So I think that will be a difficult thing. And I guess the kind of bigger question is how strategically important is it in terms of what the club wants to achieve and how it wants to go about achieving it? Is bums on seats the most important thing, or is there other ways of having that kind of community that gets involved with the games? Yes, it's always nice to have obviously people in the stadium and making a noise and all that sort of stuff, but it's whether that needs to be prioritized over other vehicles and other avenues that get people with their eyes on what the Braves are doing is maybe that kind of bigger question that I'm sure Chris, the new board, and the ownership community is going to have to wrestle with over the next few years.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. That maybe butts and seats is not something that we need to look at, but eyes on streams or something like that.
Yeah. So
Callum used to push that a lot. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and stuff like that. For me, I've been watching the team for 2 seasons now. This will be my 3rd season. I mean, it seems like we've got more eyes on us now. Like there's definitely more people that are tuning in now.
Yeah. And so what's a better thing to have an extra 50, 60 people in the ground, or to have an extra 300 people watching online? It's it's a tricky one. Obviously, there's issues around like great people buying tickets and things like that. Obviously, is a beneficial thing for the club. But in the bigger picture of it, does 50 Scottish people present more of a sustainable fan base than an extra however many hundred people watching the games online and being involved and stuff? So it's a really interesting conundrum to have, because again, it's one of those historical things, right? For any sports team, is like, oh, you need to have people in the stadium. Well, when you look at it, if you start breaking down finances and stuff, the amount of people in the stadium nowadays makes very little difference to the finances of a club, etc. You think about, I know it's not obviously not the same in terms of scale, but think about down in the English Premier League and stuff. You've got Bournemouth, who can quite comfortably survive on a stadium that only holds, what is it, like 16, 17,000? Yet, if you take Bournemouth and put them in any other leagues around Europe, they'll be one of the richest clubs in Europe because of all the other revenue and all the other things that they have on them and all the attention and that comes with that. So it's a tricky one to try and look at it slightly differently from just, oh, you don't have 200 people at every game, therefore it doesn't count. Well, actually, if you've got 100 and odd people at the game, but then you have 400 or 500 people watching online or listening or whatever it might be in the long run, the exposure is there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's one of those things that I didn't even think about. And yet that's kind of what I do for a living. Why did I not think that engagement, especially global engagement, is probably a pretty good thing? Okay. Speaking of global engagement, how can the club better involve and activate its international owners?
Yeah.
And I'm going to add something to that too. What would you like to see more from the global ownership community?
Oh, what would I like to see? Okay. How can the club actively engage them out? So I don't know. Right, I think that's maybe a better question for you than it is for me, man. You're part of that global, community. Obviously, the main source at the moment is through Discord, and I think that's a really good starting point. And I think people have made connections and people have kind of struck up kind of certainly online friendships, if not in person ones. So that's really nice to see. But I think how that evolves is definitely something that I'm sure the club and the ownership community, importantly, will have a lot to say about moving forward. I'd love to see, I'd love to see more. I know there was talk about doing things like quizzes and all these sort of things, but just stuff to build to kind of build those relationships and let people kind of meet, even if it's like this, to kind of have a chat and whatnot. So it's a tricky one for me to say in terms of what the club can do. But I think in everything that they do, and I'm sure Chris is committed to this, I think it needs to be done together to make sure that we get all the various different options, because there's a huge wealth of knowledge and different expertise across. I think he said it was like 8,500 odd. There'll be many good ideas. Now, sure, there'll be some terrible ones, but there'll be many good ideas in that kind of hive mind. Freak myself out there by saying hive mind. But yeah, so I think anything going forward definitely needs to be kind of worked around and ideas kicked around throughout the whole community to see how that can work. In terms of what would I like to see from the community, I think I don't know if it's something more that I would like to see, but it's something that I think has been pretty good so far, and I'd love to see it kind of continue as well. It's just this, that's a word we use a lot, is this kind of ongoing kind of patience and understanding around the things that need to be done moving forward, and the level that the club is at, and trying to get things like promotion and do better in the Scottish Cup and all these sort of things that we all want to see. So just this, ongoing good-natured kind of engagement that everybody has. I know sometimes it can get it can maybe start to get a little bit more on edge when things come up, votes and all these sort of things, where people expressing even their views and their thoughts. But just to remember that everybody has everybody's got right to have their thoughts and their ideas. Not everybody works in the same way. We're all different. The world would be a terrible place if we were all the same. So people have different processes. People make decisions different ways. People like to have more information. Some people are quite happy to make quick decisions. Others like to have a bit of time over it. So just this ongoing understanding and good-natured engagement, I think, is what I'd like to see continue from the community.
That is an awesome answer. I like that. And you're in a unique position because you're an owner. You're one of us.
Yes.
But you also work for the club as well. Like you're working with the club as well, volunteering for the club. But you're part of the club as well. At least the media team,
we all are.
As the person that I am, I'm always like, media team. So I suppose in terms of volunteering, absolutely. But I would strongly support the idea that we're all part of the club. It's not, it's, just circumstance, the fact that I'm here in Scotland. So that means that I can be more physically present and active. It's nothing kind of more than that. I'm sure 99% of the owners, if they had the opportunity, would love to be more kind of physically involved. But we're all part of the club. We all have that role, have that kind of part. So yeah, and I should say, I guess at this point, just in case, all my views are my own and are not part of an official Braves position. Yeah, I'll put I'll edit that and I'll put it at the very beginning of the podcast. What's your proudest moment so far as an owner or as a spectator?
My proudest moment.
Like for your proudest moment for the team or for yourself too.
So for the team, do you know what? It's for the team and for myself, right?
Right.
So my proudest moment was seeing the players and their families in Italy after winning the Phoenix. That was great. There was a lot of people and a lot of families had managed to get out there. And just seeing the look of joy on the players and that kind of look of pride from mums, from dads, from aunties, uncles, brothers, sisters, all that sort of side of life. For me, that's what football's about, right? That's what it should be about. And that's, I think, what we as a club are really kind of good at is this kind of family, right? We're all family. So I felt really joyful in terms of winning that tournament and being out in Italy playing European football. It's just crazy. So that was absolutely fantastic for me personally. But then the proud element was being part of this community that has been involved in supporting the club and helping the club move forward, hopefully, in a manner that the club wants to, which is, these young guys getting these opportunities, their families, everybody being, just being so happy and excited and proud of what they've achieved. So I think that's probably a combined best joy and kind of proudest moment for me.
Yeah, I don't think I had so much FOMO as getting like the texts from Speedy and then seeing you being so excited that you had to run down on the field during the broadcast. And I was just like,
that was not professional.
It was so great. I wanted to jump through the screen and be down there with you guys. And that's probably mine too. Like that was pretty special. That was, somebody was cutting onions when we won the Phoenix Cup. That was definitely great.
Yeah, it was so weird, right? Because when I first got to Italy, I was like, yeah, it would be good. Absolutely, it'd be good. And then we played the first game, and we won that. I'm like, okay, I'm getting a bit more into this now. And then the final, I did just it took over. Like it was it was just complete and utter. If we win this is going to be fantastic. Yeah, again, something that I didn't imagine ever being a thing, of traveling away to a European tournament with a Lowland League team from Scotland. It's a really weird and wonderful experience.
Okay, so let's start talking about the team now. In your opinion, how does the team look like this year after these preseason games? Like, how are they looking?
Yeah. So I'll give you these views are my own and not of the Braves again. So how's the team looking? I think the team is looking like it's coming together. I wouldn't say it was a finished article, and I think MD, who's watched the games and listened to Ricky in terms of his comments after the game, would probably say that's a safe assumption. Integrating the new players and the kind of tweaks that the manager and the coaching staff are looking to make and players developing is something that will take a little bit of time. I think we've seen promise. We've seen some elements where we've maybe not been at our best. But all in all, I'm feeling pretty positive for what's coming in next season. The additions that we've made, I really like. For example, Bright Prince and Dom Mahome, two players for Albion Rovers who I liked last season when they were playing for Albion Rovers. And I think two players who offer us something different in the squad that we didn't have before. Again, I think Ricky's touched on it as well in terms of, if you look at Bright, him coming in with the power, the pace and the goal scoring threat that he has, and he's still very raw in terms of his development. If it was only 19, so he's still a very young lad. And what we've seen from our coaching staff in the past is that they can take these players and they can help them develop, which is something very much to kind of be excited about. Similarly with Dom in the midfield, he offers a real kind of goal scoring threat that perhaps we didn't have from central midfield in the last couple of seasons, and something that we've maybe missed quite heavily. We have been reliant on Ross, right? So Ross McNeil is going to score goals. That's just fact. But we've been quite reliant on him, and Dom is somebody who has that eye for goal. I think he was up about 10, 11 goals last season from that midfield area for Albion Rovers. So hopefully he can do something similar. Jamie Walker is a player who's played at a much higher level. Coming back to the Braves, I didn't see him the first time round, but he certainly looks like he's very athletic. He's always willing to get forward, so I'm quite excited about that. Either, as I said, kind of out wide on an overlap, or even as that kind of underlapping fullback trying to break into the box. That's definitely something to look forward to. And Mark Kelly coming back as well. I think very successful here with the Braves before. I think all four of them strengthen the squad. So I think going into this season, and this is no offense to the players that have moved on, I think going into the season, I certainly feel that the squad is stronger this year than it was last year, and there's a bit more strength and depth across those certainly midfield and forward lines, and defensively as well. Obviously, with Jamie coming in, and it frees up the likes of Robbie Stewart and Jack Brown, and who can play in a number of positions across that back line if they need to. So I think there's a lot of promise. I think the team's still learning to play together. And that will take a bit of time, and I'm sure they work on that every training session. But if I go back to the game against Morpeth down in England, I thought we certainly showed a lot of potential going forward. There was a lot of good movement, a lot of fluidity in the attacking line. We didn't have that against Largs, but that's maybe something more to do with the type of game it was and the opposition and having to test ourselves against that, because that type of opposition we've lost to in the past, even just last season. If you think Musselburgh and Troon, that kind of more direct physical side of the game. So yeah, a lot of positivity, I think, moving forward. The squad is stronger. I think it still just needs a wee bit of time to gel. Some of the players have had injuries and the like as well, so that obviously slows down that gelling process. But I haven't seen the lads out with the game setting. So when been through training, I've been lucky enough to do and even seen them before the game and after the game. It certainly feels like there's a real unity within the team, and the new lads that have came in seem to have settled in very nicely with the team that's there. I know Ricky always kind of says this about being a good group of lads, but it actually is.
Yeah. Meeting everyone during Owners Weekend, it was like, oh, you guys are actually a really nice group of people that you seem like good people, not just good players. And Bright Prince, you're right. When we signed him, and I think when he played that first game, I immediately knew who and I am not a football fan. Like I follow the Braves and that's it. But when you said Bright Prince, I knew exactly who he was. He was a menace when we played against him, and he is a monster.
Yeah,
he's bigger than Bernie, and I was like, and Bernie is a big guy.
he's a big lad. He is a big lad,
and I'm just, holy cow, this. And then you're like, oh yeah, and he's 19, and I was, oh my gosh, yeah, holy cow,
I think
this guy's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think he might even be bigger than Jack McDowell, and Jack is big.
Jack's a big boy.
So I stood next to Jack. I was doing a little kind of media thing. And what am I, like 6'2" or something like that? But my word, Jack is a big lad. But so Bright actually might be a bit bigger than Jack.
Oh my gosh.
But again, it's to use the cliche. He's not just this kind of battering ram of a player.
Mm-hmm.
He can use the football at his feet. He's got a good touch. He can make his passes. I think he's played out on the left wing a couple of times. He's got a bit of pace. He can go past people. So it is. Yes, he's an exciting prospect. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited about this season. I feel like, last year we signed the McLarens,
yep,
and I immediately fell in love with those guys. And then these guys that we signed, I was like, oh my gosh, like this team is getting better and better. Not saying anything against the guys that left, because I love those guys too. That's the problem, is I love everybody. I really do. Let me ask you, do you have a favorite Braves player that you'd be willing to say, this is my favorite Braves player? It can be past or present.
Do I have a single favorite player? No, probably not, if I'm honest, right? So there is lots of different aspects about different players that I really like, but I don't have a single favorite. So for example, I really like Ryan Murray in terms of his use of the ball and the way that he plays his game. He's got a good intelligence to what it is that he does. I really like Greg Stewart centre half. I think his reading of the game and his composure and his ability to nip in front of the attacker to win the ball is fantastic. But I also really like Dan Martins with his athleticism and his commitment, and he's nice and vocal. He's a good leader. Similarly, John Guthrie, in terms of his tenacity, his work rate, his ability to try and keep the ball moving forward and be that kind of pivot. Reg, who doesn't love Reg, right? Well, apart from if you're a fan of any team that he's playing against, right? Reg is brilliant. His hold up play, his work rate, his willingness is fantastic. And, we could go on and on. Zach Butterworth, in terms of his ability to go past people. I mean, Zach can go past people. He just makes it look like he's not even trying. And he's gone past two players. Same with the likes of Cammy Bredner with his left foot and some of the goals that he can score and the quality of free kicks and corners he can put in. And yeah, Bernie between the sticks is fantastic. So it's more just not mentioned hundreds of players there, but it's more just that I like different aspects of everybody's game, essentially, as opposed to having one particular favorite player. Apologies. It's not that I don't want to say it, it's just I don't have one.
No, that's the same way. I'm the exact same way. Like there's guys that you watch, and of course, Ross McNeil, I think, is everybody's favorite on the Discord. But
it's funny how goal scorers tend to be that, isn't it?
I know, as soon as Reg came in and I saw, he just seems like an imp out there, like causing havoc, which is something that I love. And then Danny Martins during the Phoenix Trophy, John Guthrie and Zach were lights out. And I was like, holy cow, Zach is out there running 180 minutes over 2 days. He just was. Yeah. There was one point when he was sitting down on the field and I could tell he couldn't get back. He's like, I can't get back up. My legs are shot. And I'm like, he has been lights out. Him and Guthrie both. I was just, oh my gosh. I'm the same way. I love a little bit about, I love something about everybody. And I like to, yeah. And I'll tell them at Owners Weekend that they're my favorite.
Just go around the room one at a time.
I went around and told everyone they're my favorite. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but so with Zach, right? He really, really came on to his game. Unfortunately for us, as the season was coming to an end, because he just had that terrible time with injuries. Fingers crossed, touch wood, all these sort of things. That Zach can stay fit, because a fit Zach is one of the better players in the Lowland League without a doubt, and he could be such a weapon for us going forward. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can avoid some of the injuries that we picked up last season, because we picked up quite a few. Mm-hmm. Similarly with Lennon Walker, he started the season so well, and then he got injured and he didn't quite get back to that level that he had in that kind of first third of the season.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're getting to the final whistle here. Where do you see the club in 5-10 years?
5 or 10 years. I would hope to see us in at least League Two, possibly League One, just because I'm an ambitious lad. Not always maybe a smooth journey, because not everything's within the power of the club. So we already know there's going to be a restructuring, which is maybe going to make it a little bit more tricky in terms of promotion from the 26-27 season. So we would say, all right, this is our year. We need to try and get promoted, go all out to get promoted. Every other club is saying that as well, right? So it's going to be, I imagine, a very competitive league this season. You've got Bonnyrigg coming down from League Two, and you've got the likes of Clydebank coming up from the West of Scotland League. So it's going to be a very competitive league. I just think with the coaching staff that we have, with the group that we have, and the potential within the group that we have, if that potential can be tapped into, and we certainly, I think, have the coaching staff to do that, if that potential is tapped into, then I don't see why in sort of 5 years or so we're not playing league football, to be honest.
Okay. All right. That was all my questions, but this was awesome. I thought we would go like 30, 45 minutes, and we've gone a solid hour, and I'm very happy about that, because it was interesting to me. I could listen to you talk all day.
Well, unfortunately for you, I probably could talk all day. Especially if you want to talk about football, man. I can talk about most leagues around the world to do that, and even throw in probably some basketball and American football and stuff like that as well. So yeah.
Oh wow! All right. Well, Keith, it's been great talking to you. Thank you for your time, and I really appreciate you being our first guest. Thank you very much, sir.
Not a problem at all. It's been great.
All right, that's it for this episode of COYB, the podcast, where passion meets the pitch and ownership has a voice. If you're enjoying the journey, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the show with a fellow Braves owner. Until next time, respect all, fear none, and come on, you Braves.
This has been COYB, the podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.